Anyway, I think if I'm not mistaken, Mao Zedong sort of anticipated it in one of his early writings. He said the time will come when China and America will fight Japan.
And the Americans would have allowed China to capture Taiwan. But then the Korean War supervened, which was really something instigated by Stalin.
What about the sacking of the Summer Palace in 1860? How was that? What kind of impact did that have on the Chinese?
Oh, sacking of the Summer Palace is part of the Opium War, because even after the first Opium War and and Hong Kong being ceded to the British, China still put roadblocks. They could see how opium was destroying their own people. But the British and the others were pushing for China to allow opium in freely. And after one action against the merchants, I cannot remember which British merchant it was. I think it was Sassoon, appealed to Palmerston, the British Prime Minister, who said, "We will teach the Chinese a lesson they will never forget."
And they haven't forgotten.
And the sacking of the Summer Palace was
brutal, right?
No, it was a demonstration. Don't ever do it again, and prevent us from selling opium. So it is in connection with the opium humiliation that the Summer Palace is now viewed.
Well, this brings me to the question, as you know, this course is about US-China relations. And the interesting question is how do Chinese historians view the role of the US in this century? Because until the Boxer Rebellion in 1899 to 1901, I think the American troops didn't fight in China before that. And in fact, the US, but at the same time, US insisted on most favored nation treatment and joined the settlements in Shanghai after they were established. But the US also donated some of the reparations received from the Boxer Rebellion to funding scholars in China to be educated by American universities. Also, I think this also led to the founding of the Tsinghua University, if I remember correctly. So how do
many hospitals and education establishments were established by the Americans.
How do the Chinese view the American role in this Century of Humiliation?
Well, Japan did not... I'm sorry. The US did not see itself as a European colonial imperialistic power. It saw itself as, in terms of its manifest destiny, as a superior power which had a civilizing mission. So of course, when the European powers took advantages for themselves, they demanded their share. And don't forget, in 1854, Commodore Perry forced open Japan. They would have done the same to China. But since the Europeans had already opened all the gates, there was no need for them to move.
So in a sense, they were free riders.
They were free riders. That's how MFN, the term, became in popular use.
Yes.
That there's no need for us to fight the same battles to get the same advantages.
Yes.
You just agree to give it to all the rest of us. Most favored nation, which is a strange term, not easily self-explanatory. But that's when it gained currency, China. Then they saw the powers in contention. And Theodore Roosevelt received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1906.
Yes.
And I always remember in the ante room, before we entered the Oval Office, out there, the certificate with the medal of the Nobel Prize being given to Theodore Roosevelt.
Yes.
It was the settlement between Russia and Japan. Russia and Japan fought a very bloody war. Russian fleet was sunk in 1905.
That's right.
Which led in the end to the Bolshevik Revolution. And on Liaotong Peninsula, so many graves to Russians and Japanese who fought there. The Americans decided better to have peace and a balance. It was not in American interest to have the Tsar come down Manchuria into Korea. It was not in the interest of the US to have the Japanese moving deeply into China either. So it was in the interest to have a balance. But that balance did not last very long. Because when the Japanese moved into mainland China, then it was the Americans who forced the Japanese into the Second World War by the oil embargo.
Yeah. Anyway, I think if I'm not mistaken, Mao Zedong sort of anticipated in one of his early writings is that the time will come when China and America will fight Japan. He said in one of his, and I cited in one of my lessons. Yeah. But so overall, before closing, if you just had to sort of summarize the attitudes of China towards Americans at the early part of this century, how would you characterize it? Early part of the 20th century.
So the Americans were the least predatory of the Western powers.
Yes.
And because they had a guilty conscience and donated some of the indemnities back to establish educational and health institutions, the Chinese have a different view of them. So till today, St. John's University, for example, is spoke of in warm terms. I think it's been absorbed into Futan or Jiaotong, I can't remember now. And you had a group of Americans like Henry Luce. Many of them were associated with missionary families. They had good intentions for China. They want China to be Christianized, to be like America. And when Japan invaded China in 1937, before First World War, the Americans helped China. So they had the Flying Tigers, you had the supply lines being opened, all kinds of things being done to help China fight Japan. And if you go to Chongqing today or to Kunming, many of the American establishments during that period are preserved as museums in order that that period not be forgotten. So Mao Zedong had a very tentative view of the Americans. He had a bad experience with, I think, Ambassador Patrick Hurley. He wrote a piece about Farewell Ambassador Hurley or something, which is quite famous. Then they succeeded in 1949. And the Americans would have allowed China to capture Taiwan. But then the Korean War supervened, which was really something instigated by Stalin.
大家好，我是主播周玉琴。很多的朋友告诉我们，选择原版的太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌，它添加有羽衣甘蓝，健康再加分。而有睡眠困扰的朋友们，赶快选择蓝色包装这一款晚安加强版，绝对是更有感。每日克菲尔，时刻美好 ，Good Feel Good， 请上快点购为健康下单，而且要记得输入推荐代码，有额外的折扣优惠。 太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌基础版、晚安加强版新包装改版，内容不变，抽取更方便。要吃就吃最好的。